This is Tito Santana, and you're listening to another wrestling podcast. Arriba!
It's time for another wrestling podcast.
Are you ready to beat the man? You have to beat the man. The champ is here! It's just the man! Give me a hell yeah! What the Rock is cooking! Woo. Yes! Woo. What? Yes! Woo, woo, woo! What you gonna do when Hulkamania destroys you? For the benefit of those with flash photography, would you please shut the hell up? Oh, yes! Ooh, yeah! That was what was best for business. What a rush! The kid to dig that sucker! And that's the bottom line, because Stone Cold said so. Have a nice day!
With your hosts, Steve Credo and Jonathan Benjamin.
All right, welcome everybody to another wrestling podcast. I'm Jonathan Benjamin.
And I'm Steve Credo, and we have an amazing show for you today.
Well, dare I say, the best show ever.
Jonathan, what makes today's show so amazing?
I'm glad you asked, and right on cue, I might add. Today we have none other than Road Warrior Animal and Northeast Wrestling's own Bull Dredd.
Amazing.
But before we get going tonight, guys, we need your help. We need you to do 4 things for us. I know it sounds like a lot, but it's really 5 things. Let's just say 5 things you need to do for us. Number 1, you need to like us on social media. So whether it's following us on Twitter, liking us on Facebook, liking us on Instagram, we're everywhere out there. We have got social media. We've taken it hostage, and we need you to go out there and like us every way, shape, and form that you can.
That's right, guys. And leave comments on the shows. Comment on Facebook. Comment on the show as we post them on Podbean. Comment anywhere you guys can find a place to comment. We want to hear from you guys. We want to know what you love, what you hate, what we didn't ask, what we should have asked, what you loved that we did ask, anything. So just leave us some comments so we know what you're thinking out there.
Well, and then the next thing we need you to do is share us with your friends. Don't be stingy. Don't hog us all to yourself. Get out there and talk wrestling with your friends. Say, hey, listen, I was listening to the greatest wrestling podcast the other day, another wrestling podcast, and you guys should definitely listen to it because, you know, no one wants to be that person that's left out of the conversation whenever they're talking about, oh, did you hear the guys on another wrestling podcast the other day had Road Warrior Animal, and it was an amazing interview, and then you have to act like you watched it or listen to it, and it's just really awkward. So just listen to it and share it with your friends.
That's right, guys. And most importantly, the next step is to subscribe. We're on iTunes. Search for us on iTunes. We're on Stitcher. Search for us on Stitcher. We're on TuneIn. Find us on TuneIn. We're on Player FM. We're streaming live on Geek Life Radio on Fridays. We're on Podbean. You can find us at anotherwrestlingpodcast.com. All the links are at the top right of the page. Click on them. Subscribe.
And lastly, but not leastly, I just made that up. We have trending worldwide. We have a brand new hotline. Before you get your hopes up, it's not a 1-900 number. It is not. You're not going to learn anything new from Mean Gene Okerlund. What this hotline does is it's a direct link from you to us. So you call us at 802-AWP-7672. For those of you who don't know what that is, that's 802-297-7672. And what you can do is just talk to us. Tell us what you liked about the show. There's not going to be one thing you didn't like about the show, so I don't even have to say, tell us what you don't like. Get on there and tell us maybe something that you want us to talk about, a guest that you want us to have on. whatever you're thinking, whenever you're listening, that's what we want to know about. And we started to talk about this, and whoever has some great points, great topics, great comments, whatever, we're going to actually incorporate that into the show. So this is your chance to get on another wrestling podcast.
That's right, Jonathan. And right now we actually have a caller from this week, so let's play it.
What's up, fellas? It's your favorite heel turn himself, Mr. Mike Colon. Just checking in to tell you guys you're doing a good job. Listening to another wrestling podcast to and from work. Actually was at standstill traffic on I-95 coming home from Queens today. And I got to share another wrestling podcast with the lady in the car next to me. Although she did not seem to be much of a wrestling fan, I am. So, like I said, good job, keep up the good work, and I can't wait for more future episodes to come.
So, Jonathan, we will be live this weekend, Friday night, Northeast Wrestling in Danbury, Connecticut. You know, wow.
That is correct, Steve. Come on out to the Danbury PAL Center and say hey to us. We're big celebrities. Let's not beat around the bush about this, but we always have time to talk to anybody. So come on out and to see us. We're going to be there with none other than Mickey James, Road Warrior Animal, Matt Taven, all the Northeast wrestling stars. Come on out and say hello.
Well, before we make it to Danbury, Jonathan, we have a show to finish.
That's right. What are we going to be talking about today? Giants, greatest pay-per-views ever, Vinny Vegas.
No. Today, we're talking about animals.
Finally, God, I've been asking since we started this thing. Let's talk about animals. So let's get into this, man.
All right, Jonathan. Well, here's what we're talking about. You know, gimmicks are a huge part of the history of pro wrestling. Some of the greatest gimmicks have had something to do with animals. Today, we will talk about the greatest and maybe a few of the worst.
All right, I like where we're going with this, and I'm gonna get us rolling here. This is just wait till you see what I'm gonna do with this. I want to talk about Jake the Snake Roberts. He was one of my favorites as a child. I had so much, I guess, respect for Jake the Snake Roberts growing up, but this is like a candy bar that's got something inside of it, because Jake Roberts, Jake the Snake, that's an animal. His father was a wrestler. His name was Grizzly Smith. So there's two animals right there for the price of one. But then Jake the Snake came out with a snake. So if you're still with this and your mind's not blown, I mean, this is like Animal House in one person here. So I love Jake the Snake Roberts. I think I was probably 3 or 4. I had second row seats to a wrestling show, a house show in Evansville, Indiana. All day long, I was telling my parents, listen, Jake the Snake Roberts, the greatest thing ever. I need the shirt. I need the snake. I need the action figure. Everything you can give me, we got to have it. So, comes to the main event, Jake the Snake Roberts versus the Macho Man, Randy Savage. Jake the Snake gets his snake out.
Hey, this is a PG show. Huh?
Well, okay. Well, he gets his reptile out, and somehow it escapes the ringside area and starts to make its way into the crowd. Now, I was a youngin', as they say, and I had somehow fallen asleep and could not be raised by anything. So this was my moment to shine. My parents were trying to, wake me up. Couldn't happen. That is my Jake the Snake Roberts story. He was one of my favorites. Glad he's a WWE Hall of Famer. Glad to see that his life has started to turn around. What are your thoughts on Jake the Snake?
Yeah, well, I think Jake was a great wrestler. Underrated, I think. He really never got the biggest spotlight out of a lot of other guys should have gotten, or a lot of other guys have gotten that he didn't get. But I think, it could have been anybody. It could have been, any wrestler. But I think the Snake was the biggest attraction for him. I mean, he wasn't a high flyer wrestler. He was great on the mic, I'll give him that. But I think, the Snake made him. You know what I mean? Like when Jake the Snake came out, he was carrying that bag. Yeah, we all knew what was in the bag, and pretty much that's what we were there to see. No offense to Jake Roberts. I mean, granted, we all became fans of him and we all wanted to see him, but 90% of us were just waiting for him to pull out the snake, and that's, that was his gimmick. You know what I mean? To where he could have been the worst wrestler in the world, he could have been the worst talker in the world, but man, he had, well, they weren't 24-inch pythons or a 24-inch python, but you know what I mean? He had the snake, he had the python, Damien, the original, and that's what we always wanted to see, and that was, the greatest part of his matches is, when it was coming down to the end, he pulled out the snake, and yes, really, it was really a snake. So that was probably, the biggest highlight for him is just having that snake, because if he wasn't, he would just be Jake Roberts, and he could have been having a dancing gimmick, and we wouldn't want that.
Well, I almost wonder what would have happened if he didn't have a snake. If it was like Jake
the Hamster Roberts.
Yes, Jake the Porcupine Roberts, and he came out with like quills, and he would like roll over on people, and yeah, I don't know. It's amazing to think, but Jake Roberts definitely one of the, when you think animals and you think professional wrestling, he's got to be on the top of most people's list.
Now, moving right along, Jonathan, I mean, another animal to add to our animal kingdom tonight would have to go to the British Bulldogs. Now, as a youngin', like you said, and now I'll say, growing up, I mean, I didn't know that much about wrestling like I do now. So going back to then, I didn't really know the British Bulldogs. But what I did know is that they had a bulldog with them, and that's, what I wanted to see.
Matilda.
Granted, I didn't know Davey Boy Smith 100%. I didn't know the other guy. And
the Dynamite Kid?
Yes, well, I was getting to it. But, my point is, being a kid, is that I didn't know these guys, but I knew they had a dog, and I wanted to see the dog, pretty much. So when they came out with the bulldog, and I was even heartbroken when when Matilda was kidnapped, my memories as a kid, I'm trying to throw myself back in my kid shoes, to where I know the British Bulldogs now. I know the Dynamite Kid. I know Davey Boy Smith. But back then, I didn't know anything about them. Like I said, I just knew they had a bulldog, and that's pretty much all I wanted to see during the match, almost like Jake the Roberts. As a kid, back then they had a lot of live mascots, and that's, I don't really have a lot of memories except for just, hey, I want to see the damn dog.
Yeah, I think that was part of the reasoning that we loved the 80s so much, is because it was basically like a cartoon. When you think about it, I mean, there were snakes, there were birds, there were dogs, there were, there was music, there was bright colors. That's what we got as children of the 80s, and I think that time period is just amazing. And I almost wonder now that WWE is going PG again, if that's not what their thoughts are with a lot of these characters. You've got, the Los Matadores, you've got New Day with brightly colored things. We don't have as many gimmick-based people, but you do have a lot of bright colors. You have a lot of flashy maneuvers and stuff. So I think that the 80s saw a time where they're like, listen, here's a guy. They had almost like a Wheel of Fortune wheel or something. They spun it, and they're like, okay, your name is Terry Taylor. Okay. Pick a color. And I'll pick an animal, and then this is what's going to be your gimmick for a little bit. But I think it's great. I love the British Bulldogs. They were a pretty tough tag team. I think that they had a lot going for them, and they're highly underrated as far as I'm concerned. And I do hope that they're in the Hall of Fame someday alongside with Matilda. But Steve, next we're going to talk about a gentleman. A gentle mantar, if you will. He's been on the show with us. This right away, I just have to say,
swing and a miss.
Yeah, yeah. I get it. All right, it's a tough day. It's like the people. I don't know if you've ever listened to Mitch Hedberg, and he's like, I want to be that guy who names kitchen appliances, because all you have to do is be like, what does this thing do? It makes toast. Okay, it's a toaster. What's this thing do? It keeps things fresh. It's a fresher. I'm going on break. So they're like, let's see here. We've got all this stuff going on. We've got a plumber. We've got a garbage man.
Dude, the dumpster. Yeah.
We've got Man Mountain Rock. We need a man that is part man, part bull, and then Vince stands up and says, "Get this guy a corner office. He just created Mantar." It was a definite swing and a miss, as you said, and I think that if for nothing else, it's given us all hours and hours of wrestling ridicule for this man. But he was just doing his job. But at the end of the day, as far as animal gimmicks go, I think this is probably on the bottom of my list.
Yeah. And I mean, it's one of those things too. It's like, if you go back to that place and time, you really got to put yourself in that time, because back then it may have been okay. It probably wasn't the greatest thing, but when you look at it 20 years later, you're like, what is this? You know what I mean? But when you look at it 20 years ago in that time and place, it was like, okay, this is different. Maybe we can go with this, but yeah, it was one of those that just really didn't go anywhere. So yeah.
Yeah.
But Jonathan, right now, though, I want to throw it to Road Warrior Animal, who's in the studio with us now. He is part of one of the greatest tag teams in the history of pro wrestling. He is Road Warrior Animal.
Today is an absolute honor to be speaking with one half of the greatest tag team of all time. Name a place, he's been there. Name a wrestler, he's beaten them. Name a title, he's won it. Ladies and gentlemen, please give a warm AWP welcome to Road Warrior Animal.
Hey, man, what's up, buddy?
Not a lot. Thanks for joining us today. How have you been lately?
Good, man. Just I have another business in West Africa, so I have a little time off right now. So I've been doing appearances for about the last 3 months, and it's been great to get out there and see the fans, man. There are a lot of fans of the Road Warrior Nation or the LOD Nation, So it's always good, man, to see everybody that's supported us over the years.
Well, first things first, you will be making several appearances this week. On Friday, you'll be working with Northeast Wrestling in Danbury, Connecticut. Do you enjoy getting to come back to these independent shows and seeing some of today's young talent and maybe giving out some advice?
Oh, yeah, man. Anytime I go there and a young wrestler wants me to watch the match or look at it and give advice, I certainly will give it. It's fun for me to go to the independent territories because that's where I started. And, you actually, to be quite honest with you, you get treated better in the independent territories than you do going working for the big company. So I hope it actually gets back to, getting back to that era of, there being 1,000 companies in the U.S. to go work for.
Yeah. Now, you're also making a big appearance alongside Mickey James at our friends over at Collector's Realm. Now, are you excited to get to meet all of your fans from the Northeast?
Well, yeah, I mean, some of the greatest wrestling fans in the world are from the Northeast area, They've been educated over the years, with great wrestlers and great talents, and, they expect nothing but the best.
Well, there's no doubt that you'll be signing some LOD merchandise during your appearance, but what is your favorite LOD or Road Warrior merchandise that's ever been released?
I really, to be honest with you, I don't collect a lot of it myself. If I see something that I've not seen before, like a different action figure or I'm putting a different step, I'll grab it, for a souvenir, but that usually doesn't last long because my grandson opened a package and take it and throw it in the bathtub. So, but there's a lot of great things. I mean, it's hard because Hawk and I, have achieved everything you can achieve in the wrestling business as far as tag teams. So, I mean, there's not really anything I can collect. I mean, I still have a couple pair of spike shoulder pads. I got the gold ones, and I got the ones that say Chicago on the front. So, fans in the Northeast and the Danbury area get ready because, I'm bringing those pads with me, and they can put them on and take pictures with them and, get a chance to put the pads on themselves, which they never get to do.
That's awesome. Now, WrestleMania just happened. Did you make it out to WrestleMania this year?
I did, but I did not wrestle.
Okay.
You know what I mean? I did not only wrestle. I mean, I did not go on behalf of WWE.
Okay.
I went out there for another promotion and did WrestleCon, to be quite honest with you. I didn't actually go anywhere near WrestleMania. I went over to the WrestleMania hotel one day. I met my brother John for lunch, and that was about it.
Okay. Now, I'm sure you saw this year's class of Hall of Famers that went in, the Bushwhackers and Macho Man Randy Savage, Kevin Nash. Is there anybody that sticks out in your mind that isn't in the Hall of Fame yet that you think should be there?
Well, yeah, British Bulldogs.
Okay.
Should be in the Hall of Fame. Demolition should be in there. Eventually, there's a lot of other guys that should be in there. I mean, Nikita Koloff should be in there, even though he wasn't a WWE guy. But then again, neither was Sting. So it's kind of a it's kind of a weird thing. The show plays all over the Danbury area, and I hope people are listening in Connecticut because it's kind of a strange thing. I always had a good working relationship with the WWE, but for some odd reason, I never get asked to do their fan fest or anything when it comes to WrestleMania, which is kind of strange. Being one of the most popular tag teams ever in the history of wrestling.
Absolutely, and that's why we hope that people will tweet this out and say, "Hey, listen, we want Animal," because it's a rare for me to be on the East Coast, and I haven't got a chance to meet you yet. So it was rare enough for me that I took notice about it. So, but speaking of WWE and the Fan Fest and all that stuff, the network has been a big thing that happened in the past year or so. Do you currently subscribe to the network?
No, I don't subscribe. I don't subscribe to that network. I really don't even go on my app that's online very much. I see the last few polls when it comes to tag team wrestling, of course, Hawk and I have been ranked number one, so that doesn't surprise me. I mean, they're just trying to rebuild their tag team entities again, but the problem is, they don't let them get over like the way Hawk and I got over, so you're never going to have that tag team, you know what I mean? When the Hawk and I's music plays, they just call it the Warrior Pop for a reason, because the place erupted, and I don't know if you're ever going to see that again. I mean, not that the guys that are there are not trying, because they're trying their butts off, but unfortunately they have new writers now and everything else, which I think is killing the wrestling business and killing their interviews, because, in our day, the guys said what they felt and were a product of what they were, I think that's missing in today's wrestling business.
Obviously, there was only one and has only ever been one Hawk and Animal, but do you see anyone in the current WWE landscape that could have been a Road Warrior?
No. I mean, the closest thing in that company now to a Road Warrior is Ryback.
Okay.
I think if Ryback had another tough partner, he could be a formidable tag team, but in their business today and the way the WWE model is, they beat everybody too much. I mean, they killed Dolph Ziggler, they killed Ryback, they just beat Rusev. So anybody that gets any power, they beat, and which is, you don't let anybody build up any steam. And as far as tag teams go, I think the Usos had a great chance because they're two great guys, but I think they've already killed them off. And I don't know, what's the tag team with Titus?
Primetime Players.
Yeah, Primetime Players. Well, I don't know if you watched Raw last night. They were wearing a kind of a mocking of a Hawk and Eye shoulder pads, which is, I thought, was kind of stupid on their part.
Yeah.
Even though they weren't ripping on Hawk and Eye, they were trying to make a point to the Ascension. And the thing is that even the Ascension is already gotten beat. So what do they mean? They mean nothing.
Yep.
It's a shame because in tag team wrestling, if you really want to get yourself popular and get yourself over, don't talk about the guys you can't touch. You can't touch Hawk and I, so don't even talk about it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yep.
I mean, that's the honest to God truth. I'm not being cocky. There's about 5 entities in the wrestling business you should not touch. Bruno Sammartino, Hulk Hogan, Andre the Giant, Stone Cold, The Rock, and I think the Ultimate Warrior is another one, and then maybe 6, Hawk and I.
Yep.
You know what I mean? So, don't even say anything negative about it, because in the eyes of the fans are never, ever going to buy it. No matter what you do, they're not going to buy into what they're saying. They're going to say, "Oh gosh, you talked about the Road Warriors. Yeah, good luck." And they blow it off. So why even waste their breath? Unless you're going to do it in a positive light and say, "Hey, man, We got a goal. We want to be as good as the Road Warriors, and that's a different story.
Yeah.
Now,
Now,
that's the way Hawk and I used to do it. We wrestled Dusty Rhodes and Dick Murdoch, or the Funks or the Briscoes when we were first starting, or Stan Hansen and Brody, or Stanton Hansen and Harley Race. We say, we're not as good as you yet, but we're going to get to be the best tag team ever. And, and we worked hard at it,
absolutely. Speaking of that, I think that you guys were ahead of your time. You kind of mixed everything together to not only be a feared tag team, but also a highly entertaining team. Was it your idea to incorporate the face paint and the shoulder pads?
Well, the shoulder pads were my idea. The face paint actually came from Ole Anderson and Bill Watts. Ole was running Georgia Championship Wrestling at the time, and Bill Watts was running Mid-South down in Louisiana. They got together, and they were doing business back and forth, and business was at all-time low. The wrestling business was the lowest it's ever been, and they were looking to really put a stamp and change the business a little bit. And you're right, Hawk and I were, if Hawk were alive today and we were young, we would fit right in with today's wrestling.
Oh, yeah.
And we would dominate the scene like we did then. I mean, we were two physical specimens that were way ahead of our time. I mean, there's only one or two guys that can touch us physically that's in the company today.
Did you ever think you would have been painting your face after all these years?
Bro, it's been over 25 years and I'm still painting my face. But hey, that's a testament to the fans. I mean, evidently what we did, they liked. And now you can watch all our AWA matches, NWA, WCW, WWF, WWE matches on, the network. It keeps Hawk and I relevant.
Oh, yeah. Now, like you just said, all the total package, your entrance theme in WWE, Oh What a Rush, it's regarded as one of the greatest themes of all time. What was your initial thoughts on coming to the ring to that music? Because I know that you had others in AWA and WCW and stuff, but the one in WWF really kind of took hold. And did you enjoy that theme?
Well, yeah. I mean, we first came out, we were the first ones to use music probably as tag teams. We came out to Black Sabbath, Iron Man, and everybody knew that. And but then they wanted copyright costs. They wanted $10,000 every time we paid it, and we said, we are not doing that.
No.
So then I went in the studio, down at Paisley Studios, where Prince has a studio in Minneapolis, and I went down there and I changed the licks and everything else in the beat to make it legal for us to use it, and we use it that way. Then during the interviews, Hawk used to do at the end of our interview, when we kick your butt, it's going to be, oh, what a rush. And, they liked that so much, they said, hey, why don't you put that on the front end of your new music here when we came back to WWF at the time. And we did it, and then the fans loved it. And anytime, even when I did the match lately against Heath Slater at the Raw 1000 show, I mean, when they played the music, I hadn't been on TV for 6 years, and the people went crazy. So it's just one of those theme songs that everybody liked and everybody appreciated because they knew at the end of the day they were going to get what they paid to come see,
Yeah, and we, like we said, so we got the face paint, we got the themes, and you've got your finishing move, which is the Doomsday Device, one of the most devastating moves ever created. How did that come about? Did you guys have that initially, or was it something that came after you guys had been working for a while?
No, actually, we were wrestling, and then we were with Paul Ellering over in Japan, and we said, we need to come over to a new wrestling move. And Ellering said, well, these Japanese boys are tough. If we're going to try something new, try it on the Japanese boys. So we tried it over in Japan and saw the British Bulldogs do a version of it, just falling straight back with the electric chair. And I said, well, what if we had one twist to it? What if we just flip the guy where he does a belly flop and see how that goes? And then it got over as one of the most impressive moves ever in wrestling. So, I mean, it was pretty good. And, my hat's off, and I cannot thank the guys who have taken it over the years, from the small SWAT team, Junior Fatu and Samu and guys like the Four Horsemen and, Tug Benson, Art Anderson and Ivan Koloff and guys like that took that thing day after day after day at Midnight Express, that made that move into what it is, so it's, I'll totally be indebted to those guys for making that move as popular as it is.
Many, including us, consider LOD the greatest tag team of all time. Who do you consider number 2?
Geez, that's a tough one, man. Probably in the ring, like ring generalship, probably the Four Horsemen. Arn Anderson, Tully Blanchard. After that, you got to go Midnight Express, and after that, you got to go way back to, the Funks and Briscoes and guys like that.
Okay, awesome. Now, a few years back, you wrote a book entitled "The Road Warrior."
Let me add that in there too.
Yeah.
I got Heart Foundation and the Bulldogs are in there too. So
Okay, great. Now, a few years back, you wrote a book entitled "The Road Warriors: Danger, Death, and the Rush of Pro Wrestling." It was pretty successful, a great book. Do you have any plans to write any more? And was it nice to be able to get all that out on paper?
Well, the book was only probably about a tenth of what I could probably say about the wrestling business. So, I have plenty more to write, and I've actually been in discussions with Medallion Meeting Group to do another book. And I would love to do another book,
Yeah.
Although the book I would do, I don't know if a lot of the wrestling companies would really appreciate it, because I would definitely tell the truth in the book. Just the way how the guys are really overlooking this wrestling business sometimes, man. This is a business that you bust your hump for the fans and to give the fans entertainment, and there is no pension plan. There is no life for you as a wrestler after you're done with WWE and all that stuff, and it really needs to change in our wrestling business. With all the operations, I've had 13, 14 surgeries, everything else that I've dedicated to my life to this wrestling business. For me, not being an employee with the WWE right now and working behind the scenes or getting some type of pension for the rest of my life after that company has made hundreds of billions of dollars is ludicrous, and it's just not right,
Yeah, absolutely. The Luthez Press, Gorilla Position, the Road Warrior Pop. What does it feel like to have something as giant as a standing ovation named after something that you created?
That's crazy, man. From a young kid that was a bouncer in a bar and a city kid to having something in one of the most prominent professions in all of sports entertainment, wrestling, and to have one of your name associated with a cheer in the wrestling business is just crazy. It's beyond my wildest dreams.
Now, you are not the only famous person in your family. Your son James plays for the St. Louis Rams. Prior to his successful career in the NFL, did he ever ask to get into pro wrestling? And did you try to sway him one way or the other?
No, not really. He talked about it, but, he was a 3-time first-team All-American in Ohio State and then got drafted by the Rams, and he dabbled with playing in the wrestling ring a little bit. He's an absolute natural and could do it very easily. But I just told him, man, I said, hey, stay with the sport you love, because football was one of my first loves, and that was one of the common interests, James and I had. And I said, stick with your first love, man. Take care of yourself, take care of your family, and if you want to wrestle when you're all retired, then you go ahead and do it for fun.
Lightning round.
Best city for wrestling fans?
New York.
Favorite NFL team?
Well, I got to say the Rams. That's where my son plays.
What are your thoughts on the movie The Road Warrior?
It's where it all began for Hawk and I. A lot of our stuff we got, our ideas came off of that movie.
Which wrestling trend is better, fanny packs or Zubaz?
Oh, Zubaz, man. How you kidding?
That's right. What are your hobbies outside of wrestling?
Well, I got 5 grandkids now, so that's one of my hobbies. I have a mining company that I'm associated with over in West Africa and Liberia, and I'm over there a lot. So, I'm over there doing business half a year. So that keeps up a lot of my time. But other than that, I'm a family guy. I love my family, and I try to see my kids and my grandkids as much as I can.
There have been a lot of different warriors in wrestling. There were the Warlord, the Ultimate Warrior, the Dingo Warrior, the Road Warriors. I know you're a little biased, but who do you think the best warriors in wrestling have been?
Well, I don't think it's even a question for me to answer. The fans will answer you that 100 out of 100 times, man. often imitated, never duplicated. The Road Warriors, of course.
Is there a place that fans can keep up with you these days? Do you have Twitter? Do you have any of that stuff?
Yeah, man, I got a Twitter. I'm RW Animals, my Twitter, and they can private message me on Facebook and all that stuff if they want to. I take booking dates on my private message on Facebook. My Joe Laurinaitis Facebook page and stuff like that. And of course, fans don't get upset with me because I can't friend a lot of you guys. I have 2 Facebook pages. The total we're maxed out at about 5,000 people each. So, but you can private message me and I'll answer you for it. If you want to say hello or you want to book me anywhere. I do personal appearances. I do speaking engagements, whether it's in a wrestling place or youth football or high school football or even at a church, and then I do them. So I try to keep myself busy. Love to do Make-A-Wish and any of that stuff. So.
Oh, that's great. Thank you very much. We're looking forward to seeing you this Friday. We're going to see you at Northeast Wrestling. We're going to get to see you at Collector's Realm. And like you said, he's bringing the pads, ladies and gentlemen. This is a rare opportunity. We just want to thank you for taking the time to speak with us, and have a great day.
Yeah, man. Hey, I look forward to seeing all the fans out there in the Northeast, out there around the Connecticut area, and come on out to the show, man. Get a picture, take a pic, get an autograph, put on the pads. Because at the end of the day, what it's going to be, what a rush.
Jonathan, moving right along onto these more of these animal gimmicks, we had one guy who didn't necessarily have this with him, but it was his name, and that was Raven. Now, Raven didn't come out with ravens, or they didn't have ravens fly out when he came out, but he had the name. It was, he had his flock. He eventually turned into the flock. He had a little stable. But what do you think? I mean, do you think Raven needed a Raven to get this gimmick over more? Or do you think Raven was good as he was?
I think that in this sense, Raven was kind of more an entendre for quote the Raven. Yeah. It wasn't so much about an animal as it was Edgar Allan Poe, like he was a brooding kind of damaged youth or whatever. But I thought that was an awesome name. I thought that he had an awesome finishing mover called the Raven Effect. And so for me, I think that as far as just an animal name goes, it could have been far worse. I mean, for God's sakes, he was Johnny Polo. So I think that Raven kind of lucked out on this one. And then, after that, he kind of made it his own character, and really, I don't think that he ever would have needed an animal, a company.
Sure. So it was more like in the sense, he didn't need it, but he encapsulated the whole Edgar Allan Raven gimmick, if you will. So I liked it. He had a great character, I think, from ECW to even his little stints here and there in WWE. But, maybe would he have gotten over more with a Raven? We'll never know. But I think he was still over with or without a bird on his shoulder, unlike Coco Beware. But Jonathan, I want to remind all the fans listening, though, right now that, the greatest thing about our show, guys, is that we are a topical show. So if you want to go back and listen to episode 5 or 10 or 15, keep on going to 20 or 25, every show you listen to, Jonathan, is different because we talk about different topics, and we're not talking about shows that you just watched on TV. So like a lot of the other podcasts, they talk about what happened on Raw, what happened on, SmackDown or Lucha Underground and Impact Wrestling. That's fine and dandy. We love talking about wrestling because that's why we're here, but we try to make this the show that never dies. You can go back and listen to any of these shows, and it's going to be about a topic for anything or any time to listen to, right?
Absolutely. Now, speaking of topics, we're going to get back on our topic, and I'm going to talk to you about a gentleman that used to scare the bejesus out of me. This gentleman's tongue was blue or green most of his career. I'm talking about none other than George the Animal Steele. He did not have a live animal with him per se, but he did have a stuffed animal named Mine that he carried around with him. I think that George the Animal Steele, when I think of professional wrestlers and theatrics and entertainment value, I think that this guy has to be on almost everybody's top 10 list. He is an amazing character. has done a lot for the business, and I love George the Animal Steel. And his animal was more the fact that he was just very animalistic, if you will. He was biting into turnbuckles and stuff like that. So I kudos to George the Animal Steel.
Yeah, I never really got his character when I was a young one. I mean, I saw him. He kind of looked like he was mentally challenged, but, I get what he was doing. He was like the Neanderthal almost animal kind of guy. Biting the turnbuckles, classic. I think I even have a turnbuckle that he ripped apart at an old Northeast Wrestling show years ago. And I remember even Matt Taven almost killed George the Animal Steel at a Northeast Wrestling show. But, I mean, he's a great guy to talk to. We'll have to get him on the show. But what a character. I mean, just having that nickname, The Animal, and it's not like we just talked to with Road Warrior Animal. This was a whole different kind of an animal in his character. And once again, like you said, he didn't have per se Animal from the Muppets walk him down or anything. Like, he didn't have this gimmick with him. The gimmick was him, just like Raven. Raven didn't carry a Raven with him, just like George the Animal Steel doesn't carry an animal with him. So granted, you didn't need these snakes with him or whatnot, but having this character, the Animal, I think was suited him, and like you said, he was probably one of the most entertaining characters back in his time.
I really want the fans of the show to do this. I want you to go out and think about this and then tweet it to us or call us and say this. Think of, instead of Jake the Snake, like we said, Jake the whatever. If you want to say Jake the Hamster Roberts, that's fine. But then also think of another name for George the Animal Steel. So like George the Mild-Mannered Salesman Steel. Whatever you want to do, come up with something good and let us know. I want you guys to really go out on a limb for this and let us know, like George the Taxman, George, whatever you want to say. Let us know. And like I said, we'll read the best ones on the air. And we really appreciate you guys listening to us. So this is just a way for you guys to get involved. But Steve, we've talked Mantar, we've talked Raven, we've talked George the Animal Steel. What else is there as far as animals go?
Well, another old school one we could talk about in the 80s. Like we said, a lot of people had animals with them, but then also guys also incorporated animals within their character. One guy who I was kind of a fan of when I was a kid, even though when you look back at it today, it was kind of weird and silly maybe, but that was Terry Taylor's The Red Rooster.
Yum.
You got Sheamus looking like the Red Rooster, but now, Terry Taylor, he had the spiked mohawk. It was red. He even walked around the ring clucking a little bit. What did you think about the Red Rooster? I mean, I don't know. He never brought out a Red Rooster in my memory, but I mean, that was his gimmick. He was the Red Rooster. Was it silly? Was it stupid? Was it just the right place, right time back then? Or I don't know.
Did you just ask me if the Red Rooster was silly? Because
hey, you never know. You might be a big Red Rooster secret fan that I don't know if you have like these Red Rooster posters hanging up or something.
Well, I mean, I have a tattoo, but that's a different story for a different show. But yeah, absolutely, it was silly. But once again, I'm growing up in the 80s when I thought, this is the greatest thing I've ever seen in my life. There's a grown man, like, hey, Jonathan, my third grade teacher, what do you want to be when you grow up? Well, this guy is making a boatload of cash on national television, dressed like a giant rooster. Of course, that's what I want to do. He was Terry Taylor, a little-known Terry Taylor fact for those of you listening. He was slated to be the Mr. Perfect character. They were going to call him Terrific Terry. So think about how the landscape of wrestling would have changed if maybe Kurt Hennig got the Red Rooster gimmick and Terry Taylor got Terrific Terry. I don't know, but I think that the Red Rooster was another one of those that he gave it his all. I'll give him that much. I don't think that he broke any boundaries in sports entertainment history, but he definitely tried that, and he did the best he could with it.
Definitely. I mean, we think about a lot of gimmicks today. It's just amazing how you think about all these old gimmicks and how they incorporated animals within their characters. So it's fun to think about. But Jonathan, we're going to be getting to Bull Dredd soon. Is there anybody you could think about who else was maybe a little bull or something?
Oh yeah, this little bull is currently happening in the WWE. And let's talk El Torito. I know you are pretty outspoken about this trio of misfit toys, but what are your thoughts on El Torito? Do they need this bull? Is the bull more over than Los Matadores? What do we got going on with this?
This is like a perfect case of wrong place, wrong time. I mean, if this happened in the Red Rooster, George Animal Steel days, perfect. There was even a midget division back then. You know what I mean? To where now it's just like it belongs on Saturday morning cartoons. It just stands out like it doesn't fit, and like you can't write this. You can't write him in with anybody. He can't have a match against anybody. All he can do is help interfere for them, and it's just like it doesn't make sense anymore to me. It's silly. They hired him, and now he's just a little bull mascot, and I don't know. It doesn't fit for me. Like I said, maybe 15 years ago, okay, but now it's just like wrong place, wrong time.
Jeez, Steve, why don't you tell us how you really feel about the poor little guy?
Well, he should be, out the door, working in micro wrestling championship, whatever it's called, and it doesn't. It's just like, why do we still paying Hornswoggle? And I know we're not talking about it, but you know what I mean. We're talking about.
I'm not paying Hornswoggle. I don't know if you're sending checks, but
you're getting me started. And I'm getting off on a tangent, but you know what I mean. That's how I feel. It's just a little bull that goes a long way.
Well, from a little bull to a big bull, ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Northeast Wrestling's own Bull Dredd.
Joining us tonight is one half of the Northeast Wrestling Tag Team Champions. We have on the show tonight Bull Dredd. Bull, thanks for joining us.
Thank you, guys. It's an honor. Believe me, it's a pleasure to be on with you guys. The Mark Father and JP.
That's right. So, Bull, tell us. I mean, Friday, April 10th, in Danbury, Connecticut, the Dreaded Dead take on the Battle Brothers. What's going to happen this Friday night in Danbury, Connecticut?
Well, what can I say? I got to give it to the Battle Brothers. They are one tough tag team. I mean, they're real brothers in real life, and we've fought them. We've been through many battles with them. Zombie and I, we've wrestled them multiple times, and I would say they deserve to be champions. They're one of the top tag teams in Northeast and throughout New England. And but the end result this Friday is what's always been. Zombie and I will remain NEW tag team champions, and just like the greatest wrestler of all time said, to beat a man, you got to beat the man. So if you want to beat a team, you got to beat the best team. And that's all I got to say.
All right, now you and Ron are the reigning Northeast Wrestling Tag Team Champions. Do you feel more pressure now than ever to put on great matches? And you guys kind of have that target on your back. So is it difficult now, or has things really changed at all for you guys?
I wouldn't say. Well, no matter what, you get the goal. You got the titles around your waist. I mean, right away you're a target because everybody's aiming for you. But even if you don't have, you're not a champion or you're a top guy in the company, you still have a target on your back, even without a title. And for me, I'm not speaking for Zombie, but I would say really nothing has changed. We just do our thing, and we're hardcore for life, and that's why we've been partners. We're great friends. We're bitter enemies, but as a team, we're more successful. So it's teamwork, and it's just great to be able to share the experience with one of my mentors in the business. So. You could say both. I mean, yeah, it's a little pressure, but you go out there and we just do our thing. We just do what we were, bred to business and we're for.
Mm-hmm. All right. Well, speaking
of live up to the hype, you know what I mean?
Yeah. Now, speaking of tag teams, Road Warrior Animal, he'll be live in Danbury as well, and the Harlem Heat will be in Newburgh next week. How does it feel to work with some of the greatest tag teams of all time? Working with Northeast Wrestling backstage and all this stuff. How does it make you feel, being tag team champions for Northeast Wrestling?
Well, like I said, it was an honor, to become, the first tag team champion in the 20-year history of Northeast Wrestling is an accomplishment in itself. And even winning the tag team of the year, and from what I heard, we beat out, even just to be an honor, it was an honor just to be in the same category as the Hardy Boys and the Young Bucks. And we won by a landslide from 150 votes. And it's just a great feeling because it's I get this all the time where it's how does it feel? You're in the locker room with these guys, you're on a show with these guys. I'm when I first started working with Northeast Wrestling, my first match was I tagged up with Hacksaw Jim Duggan. And I think one of the guys said, don't be marking out. And I'm like, oh, no, I'll be fine, but that show day, and, I was all nervous and, going to the bathroom every few minutes. But, you could say I've kind of gotten used to it now because it's wow, you see all these guys, you can see these guys on TV all the time as a child. Now you're in the locker room with them. I feel like I've known them my whole life. Mm-hmm. And it's how can I say, it's different when you're a fan because some people are just so starstruck. Well, I have to put that at check. I got to draw the line. When I'm in the locker room, yes, I'm still a fan, but you're also a worker, and you're in the family, you're in the brotherhood. So it's an awesome feeling. It's like a dream come true for me.
Sure.
I mean, I don't need to be in WWE for my dream to come true because it has.
Mm-hmm.
Now, you've been in the wrestling business for a while now, and you probably get a lot of people coming up to you and asking you about professional wrestling and how to become a professional wrestler and all of those things. You broke in a while back, let's say. So what are some of the things that you would tell people out there that are listening right now? If I wanted to be a pro wrestler, what's the first thing that you would tell me?
First thing I would say is find a reputable school and obviously and do your research and see who the trainer is and see if they have any, check out their background and what they have to offer. Check out their track record because there's just a lot of jabronis out there that, will decide to open up a wrestling school and just because they've been in the business a few years and the same thing with people, the same guys that run independent shows. They go from, I didn't realize that you go to a wrestling school that you skip training and go right away to being a promoter. But, you got to love the business. You got to do it for the right reason. Yeah, everybody wants to become a superstar and they love the business. It's not about the fame, the money and the glory and the women or anything like that. It's about learning the craft and you got to love it. Yeah, we're all fans. We're all marks.
Yeah.
I'm still a mark. I wouldn't be in the business if I wasn't,
Yep.
You approach it with anything you do in life and any other career. You got to love it. You got to have the ambition. You got to have the passion for it. Because if you don't, it's like you're doing it for the wrong reasons. Yeah. You got to love what you do in order for it to love you back. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm, definitely. It'll take us back then because, we talked a little bit about schools and getting started and whatnot. How did you, as a younger Bull Dredd, how did you break into the business? Where did you train? And tell us a little bit about your backstory, too.
I met Just Incredible when I was in 1994. I was 18. I was in high school. And met him through a mutual friend. And we took a run. It was me, him, and my friend Gino. We went to Monday Night Raw at the Manhattan Center. And if you guys recall, recall that history or go on the network or whatever, that was the night that the Steiner brothers lost to the Quebecers for the tag team titles. And I was front row for that. So I met Credible then, and I used to talk to him about, hey, we remained, whatever here and there, we would talk. He even offered me to train me at the time. And like I said, my parents squashed that like right away.
Mm-hmm.
So, with sadness, I think it was the summer of 2000, fall of 2000. I drove by. I was, driving home from work in Waterbury, and en route, I saw this, I saw the school, and it was Jason Knight's House of Pain Pro Wrestling Dojo. There was a ring in there, and I recall was seeing Jason Knight sitting down with Billy Cage. Does that ring a bell at all?
Yep.
All right. So that was like the fall time, and I was like, wow, there's a wrestling school here. So I kind of like, I didn't have the balls to go in there. And luckily, there was a guy that I worked with who was working out at the gym, and Jason was happening to be working out at the same gym, and he was talking to him, and I guess they had a show coming up, and so I went with them to go over to the show. And I went up to Jason later on. I was like, I'm interested in joining the school. He goes, okay, come down. So I had the guy come with me again, and I didn't have the balls to go in by myself. Walked into the school, and I was like, Jason, I want to learn how to be a wrestler. And it was like maybe that week, the following week, I'm sorry, it was the New Year's, January 2001. It was like I don't remember what New Year's style, but it was like that Monday. And in 3 weeks, I had my first match. I mean, it sucked looking back at it, but yeah, January 2000 was when I started. Like 3 years, actually, I chose my priorities at the time. I got married, and my daughter was about to be born, and I retired in July of 2003, and my daughter was born in August. And it was 2006. It was just a matter of time where, you get the itch, and it was perfect time. And I ran into a buddy of mine at the store, and his name was Mikey Milano, God rest his soul. And we started talking. He gave me a spot on the show, and I've been back ever since. So, what can I say? I mean, even though, like I said, I've retired walked away for 3 years, but once it's in your blood, it's always going to be there.
Sure.
Mm-hmm. So, and now look where I am now.
Now, Bull, you've been doing this for a while, like you said. Did you ever, as you were training, you got into this and you had maybe a rough night, or you didn't get booked on a show? Did you start to have second thoughts? Did you say, I don't think that I can do this anymore. I need to look at something else? Or once you got started, you were just like, this is it. This is what I'm going to be doing. Well,
like I said, it goes back to where I started seeing a lot of crap in the business that I didn't want to deal with, and it was part of my decision of walking away the first time. And besides, choosing my priorities, at the time as a husband and soon to be father. But like I said, the itch was always there. I actually hated the business for a while because of what I used to see, and it's stuff that happened to me. But once I came back, it started off hot. Me and one of my best friends, you guys know him right now as Joseph Von Schmidt, but at the time he was Pat Gunner. We formed a tag team, or the Dreaded Guns, and we were successful. We had a nice little run. We ended up going separate ways, and he started doing the Von Schmidt character, the German character, and I was stuck. I'm not gonna say I was stuck, but I was still Bull Dredd, and I was like in limbo because I was lost. And we went through a lot of what kills the business is sometimes, and I'm sure you guys have had to deal with this, is the politics.
Oh yeah.
Yep.
The friends, that people that stab each other in the back, and this and that. And that's unfortunately what happened to me. And Von Schmidt took it better than I did. He was there for me every day, and he helped me through it. And I had a breakdown. I had a nervous breakdown because of it. Because you get like good friends of yours that like turn their backs on you, and it messes you up. And I was on the verge of retirement, pretty much. I was like, I can't do this no more. And here comes Mike Lombardi, and he pretty much, I guess, gave me my one shot. And that was the night that I tagged with Duggan. And you always say to yourself that good things always come to those that wait.
Mm-hmm.
And I waited and I waited. And just when I was on the verge of just like jumping off the bridge, and I'm like, this is it. I don't mean like going to kill myself. I mean like walking on it. I mean like walking away.
Yeah.
Mike Lombardi gave me that chance, and I've been there ever since. December of 2008 is when I tagged the duggan, and I've been with the company ever since.
Awesome. Now, Bull, let's talk a little about some recent topics. Wrestling today. Do you still watch it? Obviously, I mean, we're all marks. We all watch wrestling, everything. But I mean, do you like what's going on today? I mean, like, especially now with the whole WWE network. I mean, wrestling is pretty much 24 hours a day, 7 days a week now. I mean, you got, Raw on Monday, you got NXT on Wednesday, SmackDown Thursday. Oh, I'm sorry, Lucha Underground 2 on Wednesday. Then you got Impact on Friday. And it's like, do you think there's just too much wrestling these days? Or, I don't know, what are your thoughts on it? I mean...
Well, you got to think about it. Like, when I was... how old are you guys?
I'm 33.
Okay, John, how old are you?
I'm 31.
All right, I'm going to be 40 this year, so I mean, 8 years apart. But like if you can remember when I was 10, 11, we had world class AWA, NWA, then you had WWF, and I remember even on the local channel, there used to be some independent company. I used to wake up on Saturday mornings like 6 o'clock to watch it. But wrestling then is nowhere to what it is now, and obviously, people will say the internet is what ruined business today. It helps the wrestling business, but at the same time, it's ruined it. Social media and stuff like that. I'll watch Raw. Does it interest me? Not a bit. I mean, I'll watch like the promos, and I like some of the stuff they do. I'm not against the workers because I can't work like that. Mm-hmm. I mean, but obviously you got a lot of the independence that's going on, but then you got good independent wrestling and you got bad independent wrestling. But what's ruining business, I feel, is what the social media and guys that like form opinions have never been in the ring before.
The trolls out there, we call them. They'll put everything down, and they kind of put the stuff down that we love because we love talking about it. But then you get people that just want to just cause an argument and cause trouble and just ruin it for everybody else.
Oh, believe me, I think if you've paid attention in the past, a lot of my Facebook posts, I'm very out there and very honest with my opinion about like what I see what's wrong with business. And what it is that I let all these people that run their mouths and their opinions get to me like really bad. So I stoop to their level, and I've had to learn to not pay attention to that. And I'm in a much better place because of that. Because if what they said was true, I wouldn't be talking to you right now as one half of the NEW Tag Team Champions. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
But I mean, there's some wrestling I enjoy. Some of it I just can't stand because the form. I'm not going to say wrestling is dead. Wrestling is entertainment, but I don't like it when people say, we need to bring wrestling back. Who said that? Who said that wrestling has gone away?
Yeah.
Wrestling is supposed to be entertainment for people, not guys out there trying to kill each other, to one up each other. They need to be in there telling a story, and that's what people don't understand about WWE. It's like, even though there's short matches and sometimes they look like the fans are arguing, they don't know what the hell they're doing, WWE's telling a story. They're entertaining the people, and that's what they're doing. Mm-hmm. A lot of these independent guys, they're just putting on a show for the hell of it because they just want to see two guys whip each other's ass. You know what I mean?
Yep.
It's spawn fest, in other words.
Sure.
Now, Bull, we just kind of brought up the WWE Network, but let's just pretend for a second that there's a Bull Dredd network, and you've been wrestling for quite a while. What is the number one match that you would want all of the people that subscribe to the Bull Dredd network to watch?
The HTA network.
The HTA network.
The HTA network. Oh, man. Trust me, I've never claimed to be a great worker, or I don't have a six-pack, or I'm a high flyer or anything. But, no, not yet. My little one is asking me something. So that's like a hard question. I would say one of my best singles matches that I've had recently was me against Brian Anthony. At the not WrestleFest, but it was back in March, maybe? No, not March. It was back in October. I don't know if you guys were there for that.
There's a good chance we were.
Yep.
It was me. It was the Hardys versus the Young Bucks that night.
Yes.
Yeah, I would say it was me versus Brian Anthony. I mean, even though Brian beat me, our match, I think, went 15 minutes. In the first 10 minutes, we were outside brawling before the bell even rang. So I think that brought out the aspect of my style and what the way I work and what I am and what Bull Dredd is. You don't need to win a match to be entertaining and be over. So I would say that would be one of my top matches that I've had probably within the last 4 or 5 years.
All right, now
I have many. I just don't know. I could put up multiple ones up there. Me tagging with Kevin Nash, while I was a mystery partner for CTWE. That's a top match.
There you
go. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. Now, Bull, we talked a little bit about your the past. Let's go even further to the past, if you will. Who are some of your heroes growing up? I mean, I know everybody loved Hogan and this and that, but I mean, was there somebody else that maybe stood out that that you looked up to, that you kind of I want to be this guy, I want to be this wrestler when I grow up? Was there anybody else like that?
Woo! Does that answer your question? Listen, I was a big fan of the Horsemen, and Ric Flair to me was my idol. Like he's the main. There's two people are the reasons why I got into wrestling. And when I met Flair, I said to him, I was like, I always get yelled at by my mom and certain people like, why'd you get into wrestling? I was like, well, there's two people you need to blame, my dad and Ric Flair. And I said that to him, and he was like, I appreciate that. But Ric Flair, the Horsemen. The Horsemen, I would say, were the top reasons of why I got into business. I'm a huge fan of Arn Anderson, Tully Blanchard, and even though I like Foley, I like that Horseman version, but I also like the version with Barry Windham. So that's it right there. I mean, I like Hogan, don't get me wrong, but Flair was the man for me.
Okay, now Bull, I've got a very this question needs to be answered, so I'm hoping you're the guy to do it for me. There's been a lot of bulls in wrestling. There's been Johnny the Bull Stamboli, Raging Bull Manny Fernandez, El Torito, Bull Buchanan, and Bull Dredd. Out of all of those, who do you think is the greatest bull in sports entertainment history?
Manny Fernandez.
You're not even gonna say Bull Dredd?
Well, he's the veteran. He's old school. So it's like saying you put in me and Zombie, who's the greatest hardcore icon ever in Connecticut. I'm not gonna say myself. I'm gonna say Ron Zombie.
Well, I'm gonna go out there. I'm going out on the limb. I'm going to say it. I'm going to say the greatest bull in professional wrestling is Bull Dredd. So if you won't say it, I will.
If you say it, then I agree with you. So, you know what I mean? I'm just not going to be there to toot my own horn, you know what I mean? Because then you're like, he's a fat Italian. What does he think he is,
Sure.
Hey, that's what we're here for.
Yeah.
Now, Bull...
I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
Just like what we were saying before. I've never called myself the hardcore icon. Yeah, I did the little gimmick, when I was me and Zombie feuding. The fans called me that, and it's amazing. You know what I mean?
Sure. Now, a lot of people don't get to see what happens backstage or in the locker room. Now, do you have any famous or not famous or memorable stories of something that might have happened in the back?
Yeah.
That you could share with the audience tonight?
I'm gonna go back to when I started with Northeast Wrestling. Like I said, I had my match with tag with Duggan. Went upstairs. The boss came up to me and he was like, March 28th. I don't remember the date. It's 20th and you're on. I'm like, oh, okay, cool. I looked at the card. I was like, oh, Duggan, Big Daddy V. I forgot who else was on the show. Velvet Sky, I believe. So I ended up tagging with Duggan again that night. Now, they already had WrestleFest announced, and they had Kurt Adonis's retirement dinner, which was the night before. That was the week later. So, I was still kind of new to the company. I asked the boss, I was like, I know I work for a company. Would I be able to come and help out? He goes, yeah, of course, whatever. So we did the dinner. The next day, I dressed up, got on in the back, helping. Actually helped out Ric Flair's autograph signing. That's how I met Flair. When I walked with him to the bathroom when he had to go take a piss. But, Kurt said to me, just because you're part of the company, don't be mad that you don't get to work and wrestle every show. It's just the way it is. So I understood, and I just stayed humble about it. So, like I said, the show went on. There was 2,000 people, I think, at Nash, where I don't remember who else. I think Paul Wonder was on the show. So I was saying to myself, I hope this is my only chance to ever, meet Flair or wrestle in front of him. So the night was done. The weekend was over. I went to the gym. I think it was not Monday. I think it was Tuesday. And I go to the gym. I come outside. I look at my phone, and I had a couple missed calls and a message. So I go listen to the message, and it was the boss, and said, what I mean by the boss at the time was Mike's brother. He used to do help him with the booking and stuff, I guess, or he used to be his right-hand man. And he calls me, and he goes, I got some dates for you. Are you available to write them down? I'm like, yeah, no problem. He shot me 3 or 4 dates, and I ended up touring with the company. So I'm looking at the card, and it was 2 weeks later, and it was a Pennsylvania show, and that was a Saturday. The following week, it was 2 shows back-to-back with Ric Flair. Friday was in Newburgh, and Saturday was in Rockland. Rumble in Rockland, that's what it was. And both shows had Flair. Jerry Lawler was on one. He was on both. Jimmy Hart. Mick Foley was there, too. So that Friday night, I was an 8-man tag. It was me, Man Scout, Caleb Conley, and myself. I'm sorry, I'm wrong. Myself, Conley, Robbie E. at the time, and myself. And it was versus Reed Flair, The Now, and Frankie Arion. So that match went over well. The crowd loved it. We got to the back. Ric Flair pulled us all in the room, went through each and one of us, and pinpointed, critiqued everything that we did. He looked at me and he goes, "Big man, I love it when you bump and feed." I was like, "Oh, thank you," and I was like, "Wow." So he was showing guys how to lock up, and I was there locking up with Jerry Lawler because he was, there in the conversation too. Mind you, Jerry Lawler, Ron Simmons, I think Foley was there too, and Flair were watching the monitor in the back during our match. So that was Friday. So I was like, "Oh wow, Flair just put me over." Saturday we had a 6-man tag, and it was me, Conley, and Man Scout versus The Now and Frankie Arion. Match went over well. Down to the back, Flair did the same thing, pulled us in a room. He went through everybody, critiqued them, didn't say a word to me. So now I'm kind of nervous. Everybody walked away, conversation's over. He went to the bathroom, and I waited for him. He came out, and I was like, "Rick, I got to ask you something." He's like, "You didn't say anything to me." This is one of his exact words, and mind you, Kurt Adonis was right there, and he would vouch for me. He says, "Brother," he goes, "no, everything you did was great." I was like, "I'm surprised. If I had anything bad to say, I would tell you. I'm surprised that Mike don't use you better." I was like, I'm standing there in awe. I just got put over by Ric Flair. Now, when I tell people I got put over by Flair, they think, "Oh, you wrestled him?" I go, "No, he put me over." I was like, that was one of the greatest moments in my career, in my life, was just what he said to me in the locker room. And And at that time, and all the political crap that was going on in my life, and everybody that stabbed me in the back, it was a big FU to them because I just got put over by a great man.
So it was almost like your career came full circle. I mean, you idolized him, you grew up watching him, and now he's backstage talking to you, saying, putting you over, saying how you did. So that had to feel really great.
Yeah. Do you? I think both of you guys were at this show in the Mid-Hudson Civic Center. It was me and one of the guys from Virginia. I forgot his name. Versus Adam Page and Diablo Santiago. Yeah. I think you guys were on a row for that match, right?
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay. I'll make this quick. During, maybe months prior, I tagged with Brian versus Zombie and Tommy Dreamer, and it was a main event show in Connecticut. I ended up slipping off the ropes, and I fell flat on my face. So I was trying to do a senton, and I slipped, and I fell off my face. Everybody was laughing. Dreamer was laughing, whatever. Now, during that match at the Civic Center, Dreamer was watching our match on the stage. We went downstairs after the match. I had something for him to sign. I'm a mark. I had one of the figures to sign. I went up to him, and I was like, Tommy, would you mind signing this? He goes, you. He goes, what the hell happened to you? I'm like, what do you mean? He goes, I got nothing. He goes, you definitely stepped it up. I got nothing bad to say. And he goes, he hates it when he has nothing bad to say about somebody. I was like, wow, thank you. There was somebody else that just put me over. And then on, every time I see him, he would joke around about, hope you're not climbing any ropes or something like that, Well, I haven't seen him. It's been a few years because he doesn't work with Northeast anymore, but doing his own thing. But those are two of my top stories that's happened in the back, in the locker room.
All right.
Yeah, like you said, it came full circle for me.
Definitely.
Now, Bull, fans of yours that follow you on Facebook may get to see something that I've grown accustomed to seeing, and it's something that tickles me every time I see it. But you're an Italian, correct?
Yes.
Okay.
First generation born here.
Okay. So has there ever been a thought to do a Mama Dredd cookbook?
Oh, I have. People are I started my own page, called it Chef HTA, and people say, I think every man, anybody, I'm not say any man, but everybody should know how to cook. And it's not like I've had lessons or anything like that. I just learned by watching my mom, family dishes and stuff like that. My own creativity. I watch what's on TV. I kind of, take it and make it my own. It's something like wrestling. You got to be creative. And it's just part of life, and it has to be a part of you. But people have asked me, we're going to come out with a cookbook. I'm like, I don't even know where to start. It's not like I'm a trained chef or anything like that. I don't have measuring cups or, I just kind of throw stuff together, and sometimes it tastes good, it's good. Sometimes it's disgusting, I throw it out,
Yeah. All right, well...
I want to.
Well, you never know. Maybe one day.
Yeah.
Now, when the time comes for you to say goodbye to wrestling and you want to hang up the boots, have you ever thought about maybe becoming a full-time trainer, or when it's done, it's done? Because I know some guys usually when they end their in-ring career, they might want to become a trainer or something like that. But have you ever thought about training?
Well, where I train at PWA, Joe Schmidt, he's the head trainer. He's a international superstar. If you pay attention, he's in the PWI. He's been ranked for the past 7-8 years. I help mentor at the school. I can never consider myself a head trainer because I feel I don't have the years of experience, and I've never been to WWE or anything like that. I could teach somebody stuff, but I think, because I've been thinking about it a lot, recently, I do feel that my career is winding down. The body's starting to break down now, and, I've been in pain for the past 6, 7, 8 months now. But I will always be associated with the business only because, and I'll still be around to mentor all the younger guys. And I just like to pass on what I've learned. I can never be a head trainer because I don't think I could use that headache and have my name kind of, staple to somebody, you know what I mean? But I do help mentor, and that's something that I'll probably continue doing even after I retire.
Lightning round.
Ron Zombie.
Best friend.
Brian Anthony.
Future Hall of Famer.
The Man
Great
Scout.
worker. Great worker.
Okay.
Velvet Sky.
She's a good friend. Do you guys know the story behind Velvet and I?
No, let's hear it.
I was a year into Jason's school. We had a show. I met her on a Saturday. We had a show that Friday night, and some of my friends were there. And I went to one of my friends' house on a Saturday night. It was a small get-together party, and here's this girl. She asked me if I was a wrestler, and I was like, yeah. She asked me, where do I train? I told her, I go to Jason's school in Waterbury. I think maybe the following couple of weeks later, and she was at the next show. I saw her. So she was front row. And a month later, or right soon after that, she was training. And she went on to become Talia Madison. And you guys know her as Velvet Sky.
Oh,
and she always credit to I helped her, helped her get into the business. I'm not going to say I helped her. I'm going to say I guided her to where I was going,
Awesome.
Okay, so your thoughts on Randy Shawn?
Big mouth.
Matt Taven.
Future Hall of Famer.
The Battle Brothers.
The next Demolition.
Hulk Hogan.
Overrated.
Ric Flair.
The man.
We barely scraped the surface with you tonight. I'm looking forward to future shows with you, but for all the fans listening out there, in case they're in the social media universe, where can they find you on Facebook, Twitter, or anywhere? Where can the fans keep up with you?
I'm on Facebook, Bull Dredd. I'm on Twitter. I do use it occasionally, but I'm on it at Bull Dredd. I'm on Instagram also, Bull Dredd. And is there anything else that I'm missing? There's Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook.
There you go.
I have a MySpace, but I'm very active on social media, especially Facebook. It's helped me become, I made fans in Italy and all over the place. So it's amazing. Facebook is addicting. It's good, but it also could be bad for you. But it's helped me become who I am right now. It's nice to be able to reach out. I've made so many friends.
Sure.
Well,
Bull Dredd, we can't thank you enough for joining us tonight. Don't forget, guys, this Friday night, April 10th, in Danbury, Connecticut, Dreaded Dead will be taking on the Battle Brothers for the Northeast Wrestling Championship, Tag Team Championships. Don't miss it, guys. Head on over to northeastwrestling.com. Pick up your tickets today, or just go to the show. We'll see you in Danbury.
Yeah, go to the door, walk up.
I think that we've forgotten something here. Dreaded Dead is a great tag team, but, Bull, once you get a taste of me and Steve Credo here, I think that somewhere down the line there's got to be a match.
Listen, all I got to say, just like The Rock, his famous words were, and you know what I'm talking about, just bring it.
All right, it's awesome talking to Bull Dredd. We will see him and hopefully all of you this Friday, April 10th, live in Danbury, Connecticut for Northeast Wrestling. The future is now. Not only will you see Bull Dredd, you'll get to see Road Warrior Animal, Matt Hardy, Alberto El Patron, Mickey James, Matt Taven, Brian Anthony, Michael Bennett, Maria Kanellis, and so many more. Don't be shy. Come by and say hi.
That's right, Jonathan. I see a lot of you marks out there don't want to say hi. You're too shy. But we're going to try talking to you guys. We did a video last show. We're going to try doing another video this time. We want to talk to you fans out there. We'll ask you some questions. If you see us, say something. You know what I mean? Like if you see something.
You see something, say something.
That's right. When you see us, say something to us or something. Make yourself known. I can't remember everybody's Facebook default photo and who you are matched up to who you are in person. So, guys, we want to talk to the fans. We want to talk to you. You listen to us, but we don't know who you are. So, introduce yourselves.
Absolutely. And the fun does not stop there. Saturday, April 11th, at our friends over at Collector's Realm, they will be having Mickie James and Road Warrior Animal from 11 to 1. You heard it here first on another wrestling podcast. Road Warrior Animal's bringing the pads with him, ladies and gents.
Spikes, baby, and the face paint.
It's all going to happen. This is a photo op that your 11-year-old self dreamed about. So if Mickie James isn't enough to get you there, Road Warrior Animal is going to be a badassed up to the max. Face paint. He's got the shoulder pads. Come on out. Tell him that another wrestling podcast sent you.
Today's show is brought to you by
ProWrestlingPowerhouse.com. They provide opinions on pro wrestling and articles without oversaturating the net with news and rumors. Pro Wrestling Powerhouse has provided a platform for wrestling fans to write about what they love, pro wrestling. They don't censor people within reason and allow any and all opinions on the site. Check out ProWrestlingPowerhouse.com.
Community Calendar.
4/17, April the 17th is just around the corner. Northeast Wrestling will be holding their annual Spring Slam. It'll be in Newburgh, New York. And John Hennigan, formerly known as John Morrison, Harlem Heat, ladies and gentlemen, Alberto El Patron, Maria, Michael Bennett, Eddie Edwards, Matt Taven, Brian Anthony, and so many more are going to be there. It's going to be great. There's already some matches announced, so head on over to northeastwrestling.com to find out more information.
We want to thank you guys for listening today. Every week we create something for you to listen to, and it's absolutely free. We are the Wrestling Fans Podcast, because after all, we're fans also. Help us out by subscribing to our show on iTunes. While you're there, you can rate us and give us a good review.
If you're looking for more AWP, then head on over to anotherwrestlingpodcast.com to find out more about upcoming guests and where we may pop up. Be sure to like us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter, Instagram, and buy an official AWP shirt from ProWrestlingTees.com. We couldn't do the show without you, so please tune in next week for
Another wrestling podcast.